Hey everyone, Stephen Ray Morris here with the little announcement at the top of the episode that's coming out on time this week. Thank you everyone for your patience. I'm very excited about this week's episode with my guest, Brooke Fitzwater, aka Ocean Philly. You know them on the internet. You love them. They're a marine biologist, and we're talking about Subnautica. But really quickly, before we get into the episode, I wanted to mention that I will be at Midsummer Scream this weekend in Long Beach, and Saturday night, Drinking the Kool-Aid and I are doing a little fun after hang at the Stave. So please come to that. Biddy, you're not allowed to. Also, I'm very excited that I will be announcing a brand new scientist-themed miniseries coming soon. Stay tuned for that announcement. What else? You can support me on Patreon, patreon.com/SeeJurassicRight. And if you love Subnautica, check out my episode with composer Ben Prunty. He composed the entire score for Subnautica 2 and Subnautica Below Zero. Also, check out my Shark Week episode with Minorities in Shark Science's co-founder and shark scientist Carly Jackson. Anyway, that's it. I'm very excited for my episode with Brooke Fitzwater, aka Ocean Philly, right now. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Filled with awe and fright, see Jurassic right, bathed in amber light. See Jurassic right, see Jurassic right, right. See Jurassic right, right. See Jurassic right, right. See Jurassic right, see Jurassic right, see Jurassic Park.
I guess we're underwater. We're in an alien ocean world. And this is See Jurassic Right. I'm Stephen Ray Morris. I'm not going to waste any time. I love this person's content teaching us about all kinds of creatures in the ocean. They're Brooke Fitzwater, and you know them as Ocean Philly. They're marine biologists. Thank you so much for coming.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. You want me to talk a little bit about my work, right?
Yes, because we're going to talk about Subnautica. Because I feel like they're, as far as Let's Plays go, and I'm curious to your experience with this as well, but I feel like I've watched people who just sort of like, I'm going to just play this game because I like it, but you are like, I actually know this stuff. Not that obviously the Subnautica world is a real world, but it is a marine biologist plays Subnautica 2, plays Below Zero. So that was just so cool to get to see your insights into playing this game, and then we've been geeking out about it. But what do you study? What do you do? All the good stuff.
So I recently got my PhD in biology broadly. A lot of people get confused because they're like, oh, well, you're lying that you're a marine biologist because you got it in biology. And it's like, no, most people get their broader degree and then they specialize.
Yeah.
And so prior to doing my PhD, I went to Chile multiple times, did marine biology research there, explicit marine biology work. We did diving, I did intertidal work, I did behavioral studies. I got to go to Rapa Nui, also known as Easter Island, but Rapa Nui is the name by the indigenous people there, so that's the word that I use. Wow. And then I did my PhD in a fish that's more brackish water, but I mean, the salinity that they were in was so high that they're marine, and I got marine grants, and I went and lived on islands in Belize to study them. It's marine enough, okay? Marine biology is one of my favorite subdisciplines, and I like to use marine biology as a subdiscipline that I play in, where I look at sexual selection. I am very interested in mate choice. I'm very interested in host-parasite interactions and how that interacts with the host sex and how that might also interact with how they reproduce with one another. All of these things get me really excited, and animal behavior, for example. And so with my PhD, I studied a really weird fish called the mangrove rivulus fish that they didn't get the memo that they're fish because they can live outside of the water for up to 60 days.
Whoa.
Potentially more, which is weird. And then they're euryhaline, so they can tolerate a wide range of salinities. They can transition sex. They all start out as self-fertilizing hermaphrodites, simultaneous hermaphrodites that have what's called an ovotestis that has ovary and testes together in one organ. And then they can facultatively, which means that they don't have to, but they can transition and change sex to male. And we still don't really know why they do that. Oh, it was a really, really odd fish to study, but was really cool. And currently I'm looking for a postdoc, but while I've been doing that, I've been hitting it up on YouTube. And the thing that seemed to really take off was games, playing games, doing Let's Plays. And so I had tried other strategies where I had done like more long form content on things like, you're not going to become a crab. Listen to me, everyone. You're not becoming a crab. But I had like some of those longer form videos that I tried and they didn't take off as well as the Let's Plays. And so I've just kind of been going with those. And that's what's gotten me into the Subnautica Let's Plays. And I also want to briefly mention that I've also been kind of getting into the world of disability and neurodivergent advocacy and research. Specifically in STEM fields and biology education, that we're going to have some really exciting papers coming out in the future that I'm really proud of as someone who is an autistic biologist that did not realize or did not get diagnosed until the last year of my PhD.
It is really nice. I feel like so many people I know are harnessing that knowledge of finding out some neurodivergence later in life and able to like channel it in a way that is bringing people together instead of like, oh no, what's wrong with me? It's more of like, no, how can we all, just figure out how to move through the world like we always have with it, sort of thing.
That's literally the exact approach that we've been taking.
And also you make these, I feel like did you start on TikTok? Because I feel like I'm not on TikTok. So I assume you started on TikTok, but just teaching us about different weird ocean creatures and stuff. And you make so many amazing videos about that.
I'll give you the deets. Okay. Here's how it started. Okay. The first way that it started is that way back when I was in, I think it was like the last year or like the second to last year of my undergrad, I started doing Instagram stories as I was studying to kind of help me study better. Then I kind of left that alone for a while. And then when I was in Chile, I had like a gap period in between graduating my undergrad degree and then going to grad school. And so when I was in Chile and it was like soon that I was going to be leaving, I was there for 8 months the last time that I was there. I started doing marine biobits. And what that was is every Saturday, I would cover some kind of animal and I would have like different slides on my Instagram stories. And some of those you can still see on my Instagram today. And so I started with that. And then I started teaching as a TA when I was a graduate student. And I started doing Weird and Wild Organism of the Week, which was like a similar vibe, but like doing it in person. And I enjoyed doing that so much. And I like got onto TikTok because my brother was like, you should just get a TikTok. And so I finally did. And I was on it for a while as like a viewer, not really as a content creator. And then I was just like, what if? And then I started doing the like, let's change that videos. And they took off.
Yeah.
And here we are.
No, it's so lovely because it just feels like you're kind of like, yeah, this stuff is weird and wild. Isn't this exciting to like know about just, whatever sea anemone or again, just the ocean is just, I feel like people throw this fact out and I'm curious your perspective on it. Like, we've mapped out more of the moon or Mars than the ocean surface, stuff like that. And that's true, but like, what does that really mean, for us knowing about what goes on deep down in there?
Like there are certain places of the ocean that are so deep down that it's hard for us to do really any kind of research with them just because it's physically difficult to get there.
Yeah.
I am also not the kind of person that does like describing of species. I know people though and have friends that do that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I always tell people is that I think because of this is like nothing against media. It's just that the way that like sometimes certain species that are new get picked up by the media, it might make it seem like to people that we're kind of rarely finding new species, which is just not the case.
Yeah.
A lot of times there's more species than people can describe. And people have to have time and you have to go through, it's a really long process of figuring out, okay, are the morphological characteristics similar or different from species that we already know? What about the genetics portions? How do we describe this one? Where do we think that it sits on the tree of life in comparison to all of these other potentially related species? It's really complicated work and sometimes doesn't receive the appreciation that it deserves. And it can take years for people from first like finding it to actually publishing a paper saying, hey, this thing is new to science.
Yeah.
Or there's also cases in which there's a species that might be new to science, but it wasn't new to indigenous people.
Mm-hmm.
And indigenous peoples knew about the species long before, quote unquote, science, like westernized science ever did. And so that's a case that happens a lot. And so there is quite a bit that we still don't understand because we're humans and we can only study so much in a day.
Yeah.
And there's also only so much funding, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Particularly right now.
Yes.
But that's kind of like my perspective on it. It is kind of a hard question to answer, especially as I'm not somebody who's actively researching, like mapping the ocean.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like I think a mutual of ours, Molly Edwards, was recently interviewing somebody at the Smithsonian who's a botanist, where it's like, yeah, there's just a bunch of samples waiting for somebody to go through it. And you're just like, oh, like, and even, I talked to Callie Moore a few years ago from Eons, and it was another thing of like, yeah, there's just like these like halls in the back of museums that are just like waiting for somebody to just open a drawer and just start looking.
Or sometimes there's situations where you have a new species and don't realize it. Or like, for example, there's a parasite that we didn't know that infected this fish, and then you find it in an old specimen or something. Oh. So that kind of stuff happens as well.
Because I want to get into Subnautica, but do you remember like your first ocean experience growing up or anything, like the beach or diving or swimming or anything?
I vaguely remember the beach because I started life living in Maryland and then moved to Tennessee and then have continued moving further south. But we definitely went to the beach multiple times. I just don't remember it that much because I was very young. Mm-hmm. But we did go to the aquarium a lot, the National Aquarium in Baltimore. And so I often blame the National Aquarium in Baltimore for my absolute undying love for the ocean and fascination with it. And I do remember just being so fascinated when I would go there and that it was one of my favorite places on the planet as a small child. And now look at me.
I mean, I feel like aquariums are just such because I grew up going to either the Long Beach Aquarium and sometimes the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And so it just that made such an impression. It just kind of feels like, to me, I know the ocean, it's like the saying of like the healthy fear and respect of the ocean. But I just feel like being exposed to just that kind of wonder, just sort of, I can't help but not want to love the ocean. I got the other meme of like, it's none of my business what goes on down there, but I'm like, that's fine. But I do want to know about it, so.
And that's why aquariums are so important. And like what you just explained is why people who are scientists like me or people that work at aquariums and such are so passionate about making sure that people understand that aquariums are wonderful places for conservation. There are many times where they have breeding programs, for example, for freshwater fish or freshwater species, or sometimes even land species, and marine species, for research, for connecting the public, especially if they're AZA certified. If you can look up if they're AZA accredited, then those are places that are typically better for you to go to because they have better care of their animals. And many of these animals receive incredibly high care. Yeah. They have veterinarians that are making sure that all of these animals are healthy. They're giving them the best diets possible. They're not fish prisons. I promise. They are receiving the highest level of care. Yeah. And they're such important centers for research, for inspiration, for getting people excited. But I do want to talk about Subnautica.
Yes,
and I could get
I know it's so funny. Our first conversation is more Subnautica based because I do a series where I interview scientists about their work. So I'll have to have you back on for that to specifically get into what you study and what you've researched and stuff. But when did you first hear about Subnautica? Were you already a gamer and you're like, oh, this is like right up my alley kind of thing?
I started gaming. Okay, actually, let me rephrase. Many of us, I am a younger millennial, like right at the cutoff. So I was born in 95. So like right at the cutoff, but many of us in that like kind of sphere had a DS, like a Nintendo DS. Oh, yeah. So I had experience playing with that, but I didn't play any ocean games on that. And then I didn't really play video games for a long time. And then the pandemic hit. Yep. And then I started as a graduate student and I was like, I need something else to do with my life besides science. I can't take this anymore. And so I wanted to get a PlayStation. I am more of a PlayStation person. I just like the interface better.
Yeah.
And so they were very hard to find.
Yeah.
In 2022, I think is when I started looking. And my best friend, my dear best friend, gave me their old PS4. And the first console game that I ever played was Jedi Fallen Order, which was one heck of a game to start off with.
Yeah, I was going to say, oh my gosh.
Really got thrown in the deep end trying to learn game mechanics, but it was a really incredible experience. And I remember feeling like, because I grew up in that era of, video games are going to rot your brain kind of thing. And video games are for boys. And I didn't realize that I had like internalized that. And so at first I felt guilty for playing video games because they were like a waste of time, or like, this is like weird that I'm a girl playing it. And then I quickly got over that because I'm like, that's such BS that I had ingrained into me because of our patriarchal society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is really fun. And I'm deeply enjoying this. It was one of the coolest experiences as a Star Wars fan for me to start with Jedi Fallen Order, because I was like, I could go and like spend as much time in this world as I want and go and interact and look at anything that I want. And I can really actually interact with this world in a way that you can't with another medium, like if you're just watching the movie or TV. And so I loved that. And it kind of like took me off from there. I bought a PS5 as a like gift to myself after I passed my qualifications exams as a PhD student. It was hard to find that PS5, but I got one. This was like 2022. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I got one. I was so lucky. And so I had never played Subnautica and I hadn't really heard of it for a while. And it took me a very long time to get through games anyway, because of like doing a whole PhD. And a couple of months before I was going to graduate, a bunch of people had started requesting that I play Subnautica.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, that's not something I have time for, but maybe after the PhD, while I'm trying to look for a job, maybe this is something that I could look into. And so people wanted it so badly that I was like, sure. So I tried it. And Subnautica was a very different game than anything that I had played thus far. I had played more so story-driven games at that point. I had never played like a survival type of game. And so I had no idea what I was doing. And then I was also starting like streaming and filming, which is a lot of work. I think a lot of people don't understand that when you're streaming, especially if you're streaming for a live audience, it is not easy to do. It takes a lot of energy out of you. And this is nothing against people that I like stream and Twitch for. Like, they know I've said this before. But like, you are performing.
Yeah.
And it feels very akin to when I'm doing like heavy masking as an autistic person sometimes. And so like, I've learned over time to like, that I don't have to mask so heavily when I am streaming. And I've become a lot more relaxed as I've played. But when I was first starting, like, I was so worried about, am I being entertaining enough to an audience? I was very overwhelmed when I first started Subnautica 2.
Yeah.
Because I was playing it live. And so I can't go at the processing speed that I would prefer to do, where I have a low processing speed. Like, that's a documented thing for, like when I had my autism diagnosis. And so it takes me a little bit, especially when I'm like overloaded with information, to be able to piece them apart. And Subnautica throws you in the deep end, essentially, literally, with a lot of things that you have to process. And like, famously, I didn't understand. It was like, inventory closed. I thought internally that it meant that like you had, I don't even know why I thought this, that you had different inventories for different items. I didn't realize that it was one inventory, and I also didn't realize where it was. And so I will say that like starting my Subnautica journey was a little bit difficult because people are not patient on the internet, particularly not on YouTube. And so people were not very kind, especially when it started like picking up and being seen. And people had no patience to watch me learn how to do this. But for the people that were, I really appreciate you all. That was great. But that doesn't mean that I had a bad Subnautica 2 or Subnautica experience. Certainly not a bad Subnautica 2 experience. We'll get to that.
No, I just wanted to hear your full background on it. And I think to your point about like people being impatient, because I feel like I got into watching Let's Plays because there was a quality of like, you're getting to see somebody experience this in real time. And I think for my own Subnautica experience, I forgot if I had mentioned to you, but I had just started watching people play it because I'm like, ooh, I love the ocean.
Told me. Yeah.
And so I watched people play it for a few years because the only gaming system, because like you, I mean, I played video games a little bit growing up, but then during COVID, went all in, and I was watching people play, and then, but with never any knowledge that I was actually going to get to play Subnautica, because I was like, oh, I don't know if I would buy a whole system just for this. And then it comes out on the Switch, which I already had. So then it was weird. But so to me, the aspect of Subnautica, there's almost like a communal aspect where you are kind of like drawing maps or looking at what other people are playing and saying about it. So because it feels like, for me, it was my first real open world game. So it was just like, oh, you can kind of just go wherever and do anything and experience the story in this very like after the fact, almost kind of like melancholy way. That was, I don't know, it really resonated with me. Did that aspect of it resonate with you? Just even the open worldness of it?
Yeah. So first, I have a question. Are you familiar with The Witcher 3?
I actually started playing it before I started playing Subnautica 2, but I didn't get very far.
Is that one considered open world?
I think people consider it open world, yeah.
Okay, so that was my first experience with an open world game. I have not finished the game because it's so open world that it was like so extensive that I never got around to finishing it, but one day I will. But that was my first open world. Subnautica was my first survival type of game. If I had been playing by myself, I would have played even slower than what I did on live. I love to be able to like explore worlds and pick apart things and look at every single corner. And I like that they want you to do that in this game. They want you to take your time. They want you to look around at everything and explore and find everything. And that was really exciting to me. And I also was just really excited with, and sometimes overwhelmed by how big the world was.
Yeah.
But eventually I could have like a map in my head. But I do love what you were talking about, where there's this communal aspect with the Subnautica games in general, where people are building maps, people are talking about the best ways to approach XYZ, people are sharing their bases.
Yeah.
And
you've got some great bases.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I've worked very hard on them. But that's something that I really appreciate about that. Like, I love the videos where people are sharing their bases.
Yeah.
It's just so fun to be like, look at this thing that I built. And that's not even like the main part of the game.
No, MTV Cribs, just like, hey, check out my little habitat. And you specifically have made some of your bases to be very like, this is as if you yourself were in the world working on it.
I make a place where I'd want to stay.
Yeah, totally. No, and I guess when you started playing, I think because I had watched so much of it, but again, it's not the same as playing it, but in some ways, I really wanted to just explore, because I think sometimes, like as a kid, I played more story-driven games, but I think for this, it's like sometimes I'm like, I just want to go in and build a base. I just want to go in and explore this habitat. Like yesterday, since I've already beaten early access for Subnautica 2, I was like, I've never really explored the hot area that much. So let me just kind of cruise around. Like, is that something that you were also into, just that aspect of, and especially even again as marine biologists, you're like what's going on with the wildlife and the flora and fauna and everything in the world?
Yeah. So I usually try not to play most games that I stream off stream or off camera that much. Subnautica has been the exception for all 3 games, partially because once I started collecting like food and supplies and stuff prior, that made gameplay much easier to stream because I was already like streamlined and had items. And so it was I had a difficult time between being like, okay, I want to explore for me and I want to go and do all of these things and play by myself and like sit here and watch these things. But then I'm like, oh no, what if I encounter something and I miss an opportunity that could have been streamed? But there was like one instance where I found a mesmer by accident with the first game. And then I just went and found it and showed everybody again. I was like, yeah, this isn't my like first interaction. Or like I talked about recently that I had my first Deepwing Brooder egg hunt off camera by accident.
Ooh,
I didn't want it to happen like that, but it was such a magical moment for me and people to address that there are people out there that are like, oh, it's just a video game. It's the same thing as if you were watching a movie and had that kind of resonant experience, except you get to interact with it.
Oh,
like
no.
You're resonating with art.
Yeah. No, I mean, to that point, and I mean, we're going to be spoiling Subnautica, all the games generally in this conversation, but and again, I forget if I mentioned this to you before, but I think there was something especially starting to play Subnautica during lockdown still, and it became like a space where it felt like, it almost was like, that was my dream life, and like this, or like that was my waking life, and this was my dream life. And so I would like, when you're playing a game like that, like where you're kind of investing your time and energy into things and your interest, it almost feels like it's a real lived experience to the point where I beat the first game. And part of beating the game is you crash landed on this ocean planet and you have to get off. Simple. And all the time and energy you get to like figuring out the mystery, saving the planet, and then building a rocket and getting off. So I built the rocket and was flying off the planet. So you're flying over the ocean, and I beat it when I was on a plane flying over the ocean to Hawaii. So I was like flying in the game off world as I'm sailing over the Pacific Ocean. And I just like started crying on the plane. It was just truly one of the most magical experiences I've ever had playing a video game.
That's so cool.
Yeah. I just, and I think, yeah, exactly to your point, like this is art that you're living. And I feel like Subnautica is generally one of the only games where you feel, I don't know, maybe that's just a symptom of like survival games or open world games where you feel really like invested in that way versus, oh, I'm just going to play this character and I don't know, experience like another story, I guess. I don't know. It feels like you're making your own story a little bit.
Yeah, I would say particularly with the first one.
Yeah. Yeah, so far, Subnautica Below, or Subnautica 2 is in early access now. It was released probably when this comes out, maybe almost a month and a half. I feel like it hasn't been that long.
I know, but it has.
As far as the first game and Below Zero go, is there stuff that you love about those games as far as representation of ocean life, being in the ocean, from your own experiences, that sort of thing?
So there were instances where I did early on, like, critique that there's certain things that are obviously not realistic. Like the air consumption drives me nuts. However, I understand that from a game perspective, you need something that's going to like give you a little bit of like, you have to have trade-offs of I can only be underwater for so long and do XYZ thing. And then I need to get air. Okay. So that way, it gives you a little bit more of like a challenge versus what you would have in real life. Because in real life, you could be under the water for much longer than that, and you wouldn't be rocketing to the surface. But I have always been very fascinated with the Subnautica games, and I don't know, like, shout out to Game Devs, because I don't know how this stuff works, that they have the animals behave. Yeah. Particularly in Subnautica 2, in a way that I'm fascinated by. But in all of them, these animals behave, and like I know that I understand that they can like put them on, like they have like specific behavioral family trees, I think is what they call it. I could be wrong. Game devs correct me. But they'll have like these specific behaviors, but like the behaviors make sense mostly. And like I just want to sit there and watch them. And it's really cool to like watch the like creep vine swaying in the water, or see that like you'll go to different depths and there will be like more or less visibility in the water, which is fairly common when you're in the ocean. And then I remember the first time that I'd ever really gotten scared in a game was in the first Subnautica, right by the Aurora wreckage, and the Reaper Leviathan is there. And the visibility is garbage, and you can't see it. And the way that they did it looks so realistic that I was like, I feel like I'm here right now, and I don't like this. That the Reaper Leviathan could be anywhere here and come get me. Yeah. And I think they absolutely nailed that aspect of it. I also love reading the PDAs, and I learned to read them more as I like learn more about the games. And so like my playthroughs of Subnautica or Below Zero and Subnautica 2 have a lot more of like me actively reading the PDAs.
Yeah.
And I read PDAs later, eventually in the first one, but I had to like learn that. And I especially like that as the games go on, you can see that they put more and more thought into them and like more thought into how the critters are designed. And just the idea of like, how would you design an alien critter? Shout out to Alex Reyes. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the last name correctly, but who has done a lot of like the Below Zero and Subnautica 2 design for the critters.
Oh, cool.
They're just so cool looking.
Yeah.
I love looking at them, and I love getting to go and explore all of these different areas and having the feeling that I have if I'm like diving or snorkeling in a new area where at first I'm like a little bit like very cautious and kind of looking around and everything. And then once I get used to it, and then I'm like exploration mode. I
like
love that
scanning the
aspect.
scariest things, you know, you're just like, all right, I'm going to start scanning everything.
Yes.
No, I mean, and that was what originally attracted me to the game. This idea that you are on this world and you're trying to survive, and it's not just about like killing everything. And it is this thing where you can play the game a million times, any of them, and I will be like, I don't want to have that feeling of like being in Reaper territory, so I'm just going to stay over here. You know, like it's like this very self-regulating sort of thing where you learn the environment, and then you sort of are like, well, I know where these different creatures' territories are, and like what the stakes are, what is going on there. I mean, even just in Subnautica 2, just like anytime I'm like at the edge about to go into like where the Collector Leviathan is, I can just start to feel my heart pounding. I'm like, I take a minute, you know, and I'm like, all right, save, filled up with water and food. All right, let's go. You know, like it really feels like I feel like I'm experiencing this for real.
Yeah. Oh, can we just talk about the Collector Leviathan for a minute?
Yes.
Because you saw it.
Yes. I saw your reaction to it. But so, yeah, just quickly for anybody who is just listening to this, who hasn't played these games, Subnautica 2 is an early access, which is like, essentially early access is a thing. It's my first time playing early access of anything.
Same.
And you are getting to see an early version of the game. And what I think has been so successful with Unknown Worlds is that they really listen to their community, and they're like letting us play this game early. But you know, it is a functional game. They
had a lot of content already.
Yeah. And so in this version of the game, it's a sequel to Subnautica and Below Zero. It's sometime later. It's a new ocean planet. And again, in terms of like the biology of the creatures and the world itself, I feel like they've like stepped it up 1,000% as far as like, the science goes. And the Collector Leviathan and Leviathans in these games are just the big ass sea monsters. But this one it's just a new level, because the first game essentially was started in 2014, finished in 2018. Below Zero was started around then, finished in 2021 or 2022.
Something like that, yeah.
So that it's like this game is just like the whole level of creature behavior is so much more advanced. And so, yeah, the Collector Leviathan. Yeah, talk about it.
So I was terrified of the Collector Leviathan, and I don't know why. Well, okay, actually, that makes sense. But like, I had seen like the devlogs prior to the game releasing, and I tried to like avoid as much as possible. So for all of the games, I tried to avoid as much as possible and just kind of go into it not knowing very much, just to have my like genuine reactions. Like people wanted me to react to the trailer, and I didn't do that because I don't even remember if I watched it on purpose. Or no, I think I watched one of the trailers, but I didn't watch the other ones. And I was like, I didn't watch the gameplay trailer. I was like, I just want to go into it fresh and see, like react with that and not have any preconceived notions. Sometimes I do that with some movies now, but not all of them.
Yeah.
If it's Dune, I'm watching every trailer they put out. But anyway, so I had seen them talk about the Collector Leviathan, and for some reason, it put so much fear and terror into my heart. I think it's the way that it eats you. Like it's a whole animation.
Yeah.
Because like with the Reaper Leviathan, which I never got by a Reaper Leviathan, shockingly, but I had seen like what happens where you die with that, and it's like it's not really kind of an animation of you dying. This one is.
No, the Collector Leviathan, which is basically it's a Cthulhu-like octopus creature on
But,
steroids.
well, I was going to say huge, but Cthulhu is huge. So, yeah.
Glows and follows you around. And, my episode with Ben Prunty, the composer of Below Zero and Subnautica 2 is out. And I just had to ask him about that theme, because it's a little different in this game where you start to hear the boss music.
Yeah. And it'll strike fear in your heart.
Oh, God, it's like the, I don't know if you've played Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is the other open world game I've played. They also have a very similar music for a particular type of enemy that sounds like anxiety. It's like dun, 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 and you're just like, you have to take a break after a little while. And so it's just, it follows you and it screams at you, and you're just pedaling to the metal
because of the sound booms.
Oh yeah.
And if you're not fast enough, if your tadpole is not fast enough, it will get you.
Yeah.
And so it was so long that I had avoided this thing. And when I finally saw it, it was the most horrifying visage, because I was going and it just appears. And then it came after me, took me out of my tadpole. I almost got in that tadpole. Yeah. And then it got me. And oh my God, it was horrifying. And then I thought that I would be able to exit out of it and to come back in and be able to do it again. Nope, it had saved it. And so I didn't get got by it. I died by drowning, which was better.
Yeah, is drowning better than being crunched and digested by a...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so horrifying to me that I dang near quit the game in that moment. And I was like, if you don't quit now, you're not going to continue. Or no, if you do quit now, you're going to continue or not continue. And so I was like, I have to keep going. But I was genuinely freaked out in a way that a video game has not really freaked me out. So I don't really play that many scary games anyway. I did try playing Five Nights at Freddy's, and it doesn't scare me. Sometimes I'll laugh as they jump at you. Haven't been able to get past the fourth night, but I also haven't played it very intensely. But I played the Last of Us games, and I would argue that I didn't find myself to be scared, more so just on edge.
Yeah.
Although have you played them?
I've watched somebody play the first one.
Spoiler for the second one, that I will also make sure that I don't it's not that much of a spoiler for you. Sure. But there is a part where you're in a specific kind of building. And if you've played this game, you'll know what I'm talking about, where you have to go through the different layers of the building. And that was kind of scary, but nothing in comparison to how much the Collector Leviathan scared me.
When you're in the actual ocean, what is your feeling when you're diving?
Depends on if it's a place that I've been there before. Yeah. And the visibility. Yeah. And it depends on different people. I had trained myself to be if I got nervous, to deep breathe automatically. And so that has helped a lot in that. I haven't been able to dive in a couple of years, but back when I was diving more actively, I would do that. Usually the first time that I dive or snorkel in any place, as I mentioned earlier, I'll have a little bit of hesitancy, kind of getting the lay of the land. And then once I get used to it, I'm like, okay. But I've had instances where I've been in water that the visibility was garbage and you're kind of a lot more on edge. I had a not even that big, but a little cat shark in Chile that banged into my goggles one time and scared the snot out of me, because I just felt something bang into me and I didn't know what it was. And then I saw that swim out in front of me, because I think I spooked it and it spooked me, and so we just had a mutual spooking. The spookening, But yeah, there's instance. Yeah, it was a very cute little shark. But there's instances, or sometimes there's something and you're like, what is that? And you're like, oh, never mind. But I have a generally spooked disposition anyway. Some people are way more chill, but I want to clarify that I am relatively chill, but there's stuff that anybody could get got.
No, for sure.
Yeah. But nothing is as scary as Subnautica. None of the dives or the snorkeling or anything that I've ever done has ever been as scary as Subnautica.
See, I feel like you're helping me justify, because this game makes me playing this game, especially because I started playing it in, I think, 2021, has just made me fall in love with the ocean even more than I was when I was a kid, and makes me want to get scuba certified. I went snorkeling a couple times last year, and I was like, in the Great Barrier Reef, I know, like, which is an insane thing to say, but it was one of the most transformative experiences. And
I imagine.
And I did it in Maui last year. And for me, obviously being on the surface of the water isn't the same as being under it, but I would see scuba divers and I'd be like, wait, I want to go down there. Like, I'm stuck at the surface. So I feel like I should at least, if I'm not scared now, then maybe I should keep pursuing this, you know?
It is an incredible experience to be able to dive. Because snorkeling's awesome, right? And it's a way that more people can interact with the ocean. Because some people can't dive for health reasons, but they can snorkel. But diving really actively immerses you in it.
Yeah.
I know it sounds like I'm talking about a game, but it's talking about real life in a way that snorkeling can't, because it's all around you. And there's certain things that you're going to be able to interact with more if you're scuba diving versus if you're snorkeling. Although there are occasions where there's certain times when you are snorkeling or free diving that there are animals that you can interact with more easily because they're not afraid of the bubbles.
Yeah.
You don't have bubbles.
Wait, say that again?
Sorry, I was like, let me rephrase. When you're snorkeling, you don't have bubbles.
Oh. Okay.
And so if you're snorkeling or free diving, sometimes there's cases in which you can get closer or see certain animals that you wouldn't be able to see behave in specific ways as much when you're diving because they're scared of the bubbles, but some don't care. So It just depends.
And then, just don't grab fish like this.
Please, for the love of God. It's funny in Subnautica. We have to talk about the water slug. We have to talk about the water slug.
Okay. Well, because that was the thing I mentioned earlier, that what's so interesting about, Subnautica presupposes there's these alien worlds, and you're sort of, the 4546B is essentially like Earth, like the chemical compositions of everything, the creatures. Yeah. But then you get into Subnautica 2, and it's like, oh, you can't just you have to have these adaptations with your DNA to be able to even consume the creatures. And of course, the first thing we see is this little help me, little sea slug looking thing that becomes your basis for your water consumption.
Shakes in fear.
It's just so sweet.
But it is a way to force people to very quickly figure out that you can use fibrous pulp to make water.
Oh,
because you don't want to kill the sluggies. Although have I sent you the videos of people that just have these interrogation rooms?
Yes, I've seen those.
Where they have the water slugs and they go in there and they're like, which one do I pick today? It's really funny.
Well, yeah,
that's one. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, because even with Subnautica and Below Zero, which both take place on 4546B, the peeper, it's the bladderfish.
Yeah, the bladderfish
but it's also kind of cute and sad looking. And then you put
Not
it into your fabricator where it goes and turns it into a bottle of water. And then in this game, it is it's a terrified little guy. It's like if you took Grogu and he was transparent and, turned him into a bottle of water,
Not crushing of Grogu to make him water. Oh my God. But it does feel like you're crushing up a little guy. And it's so sad.
Cute.
But kind of related to what I was talking about with the videos, that was one of the things that's been so fun about Subnautica, is that people just and this happens a lot with games, other games too, but it's been really funny to watch it with Subnautica, the memes that come out of it, and especially the ways in which people build their bases for humor.
Yeah.
To make a humorous point. And it's just so fun to watch people do this and have their interrogation rooms or have a basement that is only for putting the Lucifer rot sack in.
Oh, I was thinking, I feel like I've seen some people put their Noah node in a room where they can't be watched by it,
Oh, that's funny. I should do that.
Because they're I don't trust this thing.
I don't either. I should do that. That's funny.
But yeah, because that's what's so cool about this game is it's sci-fi, it's ocean, and then it's, as a game, it's survival, it's open world.
Yeah.
It's just playing with so much stuff. But yeah, as far as the ocean, the idea, there's more metal in this planet, Proteus.
Yes.
So
heavy metals.
So then I guess, as far as the science goes, it's this game basically sets up this idea of like, yeah, we're on Earth, we're not used to this stuff, so we actually like we couldn't just go on in the ocean of, I forget which moon has an ocean underneath
Proteus?
Well, or in real life.
Wait.
Right, in real life.
Oh, in real life. Is
Titan?
it Io?
No, I think it is Io, yeah.
Maybe.
Well, we'll stick a correction
We can
here.
figure that out. Yeah.
But yeah, is that something that when you first started playing was like, that was like another level of like, oh, cool. Like they're thinking about the science of all this stuff.
Especially with Subnautica 2, because they really, really, as you mentioned, upped the game with it. And I have deeply enjoyed having like my little designated times when I've done my playthrough of just reading the PDAs and talking about the real life counterparts and like showing photos of these things or having space to talk about some of these scientific concepts that I'm like often genuinely shocked that they bring up. Like that they put that level of detail in, like talking about specific reproduction or talking about like bioaccumulation in the Great Jaw, talking about specific like foraging behaviors or like things that like I can bounce off of. I was just thinking about this because I was recording a different video the other day that hasn't come out yet. But with the jelly rings, I'm really fascinated that they have a phrase that's saying that they have like the jelly on the inside of the jelly rings and that sometimes they'll just drop it without any seeming benefit, like seeming benefits to why they're doing that. And I was like, well, it's probably because they might have juveniles down there, offspring that they're feeding using that jelly. That's the only thing that would make sense to me. But like, it's stuff that like tracks that I can follow down roads that could potentially happen. And that gets me really, really excited of thinking about how would the biology of these things work. Because sometimes people like Subnautica 1 and Below Zero are good, but there's certain aspects to it where it's like, it's a fake fictional world. And so the things that I know about how ecology works in our world, sometimes it's not very easy for me to do that or build that up in a game because, with no offense to the game devs, they did a great job with what they had, and it's hard to build a whole world from scratch. It's not necessarily going to follow the ecological trends and phenomenon that we see here on Earth. And of course, there would be an aspect to it, like on a different planet, we don't know how stuff would work, right? Yeah. There's certain things that would probably be very similar, but we don't know. And so sometimes people would be like, oh, like, I really want you to do like this really in-depth, like biology and ecology of, and I'm like, I can't really do that, but I feel like I can do that a lot more with Subnautica 2 because things seem to be so well thought out and connected with each other. And that's really cool to me. Yeah. And again, there's going to be certain things that are like inaccurate or couldn't happen. Things that I may not even know if they're inaccurate or can't happen. Because again, a lot of us specialize in certain things. So they start talking about reproduction, I get psyched. So for example, they had a little note in the Shiver Leviathans that the females might compete in order to have like gain access to like the best males, which is really exciting because that's not something that we really see here or like things that people study. And that would be fascinating to someone like me who's really interested in, we've talked about sex in our world from such a patriarchal lens for so long that it has sometimes biased the way that we looked at it in a way that makes it inaccurate to what the real life world is. There's so many papers that are coming out about that now, particularly from queer voices, talking about how the ways, the like heteropatriarchal ways in which that we've looked at sex and like reproductive biology in the past have really hindered how we understand and look at some of these species that kind of defy the way that we think about sex. And just getting to see these kinds of things in the game get me really excited. Because the first one, I'm getting real nerdy now.
No.
In the first one, I know. In the first one, they have this whole thing that I remember spending 15 minutes just going over it and like being excited about it. It was a PDA entry talking about how there's only one sex on 4546b. And my brain just going, because I was like, how would that work?
Yeah.
Because they were saying that, and then if I recall correctly, they were saying that it's asexual reproduction only. And I was like, huh? I was like, how would this work? Because I was like, you got to have some kind of way for them to like evolve. How does this work if they're just having asexual reproduction? And like some of those things, you can't think your way out of scientifically because, you know, people are just saying like, this sounds cool, I'll put it in there. But it feels like in Subnautica 2, things are a lot more well thought out and a lot more, with no offense, I want to be crystal clear, with no offense to the other ones. But things are much more detailed and much more like I can tease apart for longer before it falls apart kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, and to your point, I feel like the part that where I feel like now that I've been just playing the game for a while after I finish the story, you're like, oh, I can't wait till we get aquariums officially in the game. I can't wait till we get, I mean,
eggs.
I was going to say like because we get the egg that we can turn into a snack, which I felt guilty about the first time I did it. I don't know if
but then, well, it took me a while because I wanted to hoard them because I was so excited about getting them and they're so pretty.
Yeah, there's this creature in the game that just sort of, it's like, at the first, I didn't realize what was happening at first. And then you're just like, oh, it's raining eggs on you. And it is kind of like a magical thing because the first time it happened, it was also like when the sun was setting. So I was like, it's snowing, like, and then the weird thing about the deep wing brooders is that some of the eggs are fake. Is that something based in real life? Is that like a thing?
So some of them were bubbles. So I've talked about these kind of extensively in my playthrough because I've just been so fascinated, and it's such an idea that I think could be rooted in reality. Now, I don't know if there are any that use bubbles to hide their eggs. I don't even know why I didn't think to look that up. Sometimes you need an outside perspective. That's why science works best in collaboration. But I'll have to look into that. But there are instances in which like maximizing the number of eggs that get placed in different places or like laying a crap ton of eggs so that way at least some of them survive is pretty common. And I think it was an ingenious way that they did it with them laying like lots of bubbles and then a couple of eggs interspersed in between because that's something that feels like it's like rooted in reality.
Yeah.
So that way the eggs could be like concealed.
Yeah.
And then it's also cool, too, when you think about it even further, because they have a long migration route. And so they're continuously laying these eggs on this long migration route. And so there might be certain habitats where the eggs fall and they're instantly eaten. And it's just not a good habitat, or there's not enough resources for the offspring once they hatch. And so it's a bad habitat. But if they are going through this entire area that they're potentially having like differential access to resources, to predators that could eat the eggs, for example, then they're maximizing the chances that some of those offspring survive. Because let's say that they lay all of their eggs in one spot and that spot sucks because there's a lot of predators and or there's not enough like food resources or whatever that they need. And then they all die off.
Yeah.
That sucks because it's a whole generation gone. That's all of that energy that cannot be recouped. And they'd have to do that again. So it's wasted energy from a fitness standpoint. But if they're laying them all across in different places, then that maximizes the chances that some of those might be able to succeed. So if you think about things like Mola Mola, for example, that lay a crap ton of eggs. I don't remember how many millions of eggs it is, but it's a lot.
Wow.
Some of those will survive. And so there's a lot of fish and other animals that will do that they'll like have mass spawns and they'll invest in having like little teeny tiny eggs and having a bunch of them. So that way, at least some of those survive versus ones that will invest more in just having a few offspring that they're more involved in. That's a whole other area.
Yeah.
But like the fact that they thought about this and that it could feasibly work in a certain respect is really cool.
I know. It makes me wish that maybe like a couple would hatch, in an update, which would be really cool.
They could. Who knows?
And that just, again, goes to what contributes to making the world feel alive, because in 2, it almost feels like that behaviors are less on loops. Like, obviously, there is some looping behavior, but the loops feel longer, or they feel like, I didn't even think I realized until like the idea that the deep ring brooder goes across the entire map, because I only would ever see it once or twice, and then but just would never clock when it was. And then like, because I built a base underneath its migration path, one day it was just snowing above my base, and I was like, what's happened? Like, and even with the first Subnautica, even though I spent a couple years watching other people play, every time I played, it still felt like I found something new.
Yeah.
It never felt, and it always felt like, and it's not a procedurally generated game. Like the map is the same every time for all 3 games, but it just feels like it feels alive. The world feels alive.
Yeah. And it's really cool, like with the behaviors, like you mentioned, that the behaviors have shocked me so deeply in the game for Subnautica 2, because like you said, they're not as much on loops, and they'll interact with you in like ways that feel like the animals will interact with you in ways that feel realistic. And that's so fascinating to me and so cool. And I just like, I like when I'm playing it, I'm just kind of in awe of how they did it, because I don't understand this kind of stuff. This is not my area.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to make a video game. And I'm just in awe of the fact that they will interact, like the animals will interact with you in ways that feel natural, and that they have multiple different kinds of reactions that they can do and behaviors and such. I'm been really blown away by Subnautica 2, and I've been very excited about it.
I also feel like, and I feel like you also, sometimes when there's certain creatures in Subnautica 2 that are very loud, you're like, shut up, leave me alone.
Oh, yes.
Like, I find myself talking to the game so much.
Oh, yes, I do that all the time.
What
they can't even hear me, but it's fine.
Yeah. It's what creatures, as far as behaviors go, have you been most delighted by, or ones that you're like, oh, again, like this is something that feels like it could be real in our world, I should say.
I love the periscopic clown crabs.
Yes.
They're so cute. And I think it's so fascinating that they blend in, like with their little antennae, look like the anemones that they're in. And so they blend in super well. That's a fascinating idea to me. And again, like a shout out to the game devs for thinking of doing that in the first place. They're so cute, and you'll swim down and they're like, oh, look at you. And then you'll move a little bit and they'll stop, and then you'll come down and they'll make the little squeaking sounds. And then there's the one that's really cool that a lot of other players have noted, that there are a lot of the the moonfish, that they're kind of all in the same genus.
Yes,
it's the little ones that you eat. Yeah. And then there's the wax moon that's kind of, it's different, but it's related.
I love your love of the wax moon, because I also love, and because the PDA entry has nothing. Yeah, He's just a big guy.
I wanted to cry when I saw there was nothing in there, like legitimately.
But he's just, I don't want to eat him, but I just want to like hug him hug it and hug them. And like, I don't know. I just want to like have them be my friend, you know, like they just are like kind of,
and they turn and they'll look at you.
Yeah.
And when you first hear them grunting, you're like, is that a threat? Are you friendly? And they're like, no, they're just grunting. They're chill. But it's cool because a lot of like the little moonfish, and it says in the PDA, but you can see them do this, that they'll be swimming and then they'll turn, like flatten themselves, especially they'll go like down underneath, and they get harder to catch because it's less surface area, like versus if they're like this to you and then they're like this, it's less surface area. So I found that it was harder for me to catch them.
Yeah.
And in the PDA, it specifically says that like they do it for like, they don't know what the reason is and it may not even be like beneficial. I'm like, no, I'd argue. And other people have mentioned the same thing, that it seems like it's actually a predator avoidance behavior.
Sure.
And that's something that maybe they didn't actually design it to be that way, but it ended up being like that, and it's natural, and it makes sense, and it's just something cool that might have happened by accident or on purpose. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I find like little details like that to be fascinating and exciting.
Well, and I also, to go back to the crabs really quick, I'd never noticed, because the and all these games are divided up into different biomes. Mm-hmm. And in Subnautica 2, there's this really cool, I call it the bisexual lighting biome, with these giant, what are they? Jellyfish? They're not anemones? They're like...
You're talking about Subnautica 2, right?
Yeah.
Because there's also bisexual lighting in the first one.
Yes, that's true too. But
the second one, I think they're anemones.
Yeah, and so it's like these big pink and blue, purplish, like towering, and there's not that much to do in that biome, but that's like, I just built a base there recently. But there's crabs.
But that's also on purpose. The PDA entries tell you that area, or not the PDA, I think your PDA tells you, like, voiceover, that area doesn't have a lot of life anymore.
That's
and that the biodiversity is really low because that's where the virus was.
That's right. You're right. Yeah, no, I remember.
Which I didn't mention, but I get really excited that they talk about parasites a lot, and viruses are considered parasites in this game. But they do that, like, technically the Kara is also, you could consider it a parasite. So disease and parasites and stuff, they talk about that so much in these games. I get excited from my, like, thinking about that with parasite stuff from my PhD and such. But that area specifically doesn't have a lot going on because I guess that virus just kind of knocked everything out over there.
Yeah.
The Protea virus.
Yeah, that's why I didn't even notice the first time that there was the crabs, but they're blue. Because they are...
The Jetacaris.
Yeah.
I love those. They're so cool. Did you read the PDA entry that says that they have, like, parental care and that they adopt their offspring?
Well, I remember this so clearly. Little guy, like, all the little babies.
Yeah. I remember these things so clearly. Some of them I just remembered, but some of this I remembered so clearly because I filmed a video yesterday where I did my tier list. So, like, I've actively recently looked at it. Gosh. But there's some of these things that I do actively remember. Like, I certainly had remembered they did the parental care, but I'd forgotten about adopting, which was crazy. But the Jetacaris are really fun to watch. I love them. They're so cool. They're one of my favorites in the game.
No, I love the rock crabs in Below Zero. The ones, and they would, like,
yes,
punch.
The rock punchers.
Yeah, rock punchers. Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite was finding out, like, in real time. And when I was like, oh, look, this thing is so cool. And then it punched me and I was like, oh, okay.
Ow.
But they're fun. I have them in all my aquariums.
I do love it's the Great Jaw Leviathan in Subnautica 2.
Yes.
And I feel like a handful of Let's Players, like, missed it the first time.
I missed it for quite some time because it's kind of, like, off in a corner.
Yeah, there's not really much else going on there, but I'm glad, like, I hope that gets explored more as the game gets updated, because I was obsessed with the vent gardens in Below Zero.
And those were really cool.
And, like, Ben Party's music of, like, like, it's so eerie, but, like, and I feel like some people modded it so you could build a base in the giant vent garden, which was this, like, clear there's balloons, these very, like, clear jellyfish kind of thing that was, like, as big as a building.
Yeah.
And you could go up inside
and they had the juvenile vent gardens, which is also cool. So those would be, like, floating around, and then eventually they would become sessile, so they would, like, stick to the bottom and stay there for the rest of their lives. That was a really neat detail. So I do want to say, so, like, and this is the thing when you're doing anything, that you get better as you go on. And so each of the games gets subsequently better in terms of how realistic are the designs, how realistic are the PDAs. And so I felt like Below Zero was a big jump over the first Subnautica 1 in terms of, like, creature design, the PDA entries and the information about them, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, Subnautica 2 has just, like, blown clear out of the water with how cool it is.
What I feel like I was realizing at some point during the game, there's a lot of, like, two creatures that are, like, binded together.
Yes. I've also noticed this, and I've also been confused by it.
Yeah, what is that? Do things like that happen in real life? Can two creatures kind of, like, live kind of,
yes.
Like... Oh, interesting.
So there are some, not all, of specifically, like, certain kinds of deep sea anglerfish within a certain family that some of the males will attach to the female. They're much, much smaller than the female anglerfish, and they'll attach to her and give sperm whenever needed. And some of them can detach, and some of them will fuse to her for life and, like, kind of lose a lot of his internal organs and just essentially be there to provide sperm. And they'll kind of live together because it's a strategy that they don't often encounter other individuals of their species. So if you're hooked together, then that's great. But I feel like that's kind of a little bit different than what they have in this.
Yeah.
Where they're, like, born and they're, like, interconnected physically. Yeah. And, like, it says that the four eyes, like, have seizures when they release from each other. And I have a lot of questions about it. I also have distinct beef with the twin Citares.
That's the electric ones? Yeah. Oh, I yesterday I was trying to build a base in that area, and I was just like,
They won't
leave me alone. And it's
They
just
will
like,
not.
it's so, yeah, it's like these, because
But that doesn't even say that they're territorial. I just was like, I was joking in the video that I recorded for the tier list that they're just attacking you for the love of the game.
Because, yeah, it's like, yeah, with Subnautica in general, it's not like you're always being attacked by things. That's what's so beautiful, is you are just living in a real environment. And then you're like, oh, if I go over by the Leviathans, then you'll get attacked. But then there are minor things that will kind of bug you, whether it's, the crash fish from the original.
God.
Or the, oh my God, why can't I remember the names? The ones that eat the metal or that collect the metal. I can't. I'm totally blanking.
I also I could literally see it.
Yeah.
Something tooth.
Stalker.
Stalker. Yes. You can get that stalker tooth. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, and
I don't know why I forget their names.
It's just and then the fuzzy land stalkers in Below Zero, so cute, especially the babies.
They are very cute, but my God, if you feed them the little plums, they're fine.
Yeah, or
until you run out of plums.
Oh, well, I was going to say the pinglings are a nightmare also, but really cute.
I love them.
Just basically, it's like a penguin that has a deep maw that opens up.
I love it. I think it's funny. I think it's great. Can we talk to a little bit? Sorry, I don't want to dictate your show. I want to talk a little bit to our feelings about each of the games and the story.
Yeah, well. So I think for me personally, I think Below Zero, I personally love that the story starts out with essentially somebody was cat sitting, and then they found out their sister died while they were cat sitting for them, which is very tragic.
Yeah,
and I like that. I like the story of the game a lot, but I personally am much more of a fan of the sort of reading the PDAs and experiencing the story after it happened.
And that's a lot of people that played.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think I'm so interested. I mean, Subnautica 2 takes it up to another level of this idea that in terms of the sci-fi spookiness of okay, every time you die, it's a new body and you're being reprinted. And could it be that you maybe have been here for a long time and you've been reprinted thousands of times? And that level, I'm getting goosebumps now just thinking about it. That, I don't know. I think each story has weirdly elevated this story. Subnautica 2, Subnautica, it's okay, you just crash land on this planet, you cure a virus, which is very sweet and beautiful, and then you leave. And then the second game is it's very alien, the corporation
Literally.
got involved, Altera is, this universe's Weyland-Yutani. And, in the second game, you realize, it's turns out it's man that's the monster, kind of more, because even though there's all these horrible beasts, that it really is the company trying to use these things as weapons or weaponize this, virus or bacteria or whatever. And then by the time we get to Subnautica 2, it's it's totally, yeah, I don't know. And then there's all the mystical angle too. I mean, with the maze field, what do you think of all that stuff specifically?
Okay. So let me I'll start kind of going from Subnautica up a little bit. Cool. I'll try not to take too long.
No.
But I do want to emphasize too that I really love these games and I'm very invested in the lore. So I know that sometimes there's situations where some people that are streaming games, they'll play it because their audience wants them to play it. And any game that you play, you're going to like one game more than the other. There are certainly games that I played that I've enjoyed more than others, but I've enjoyed all of them, I want to say. But sometimes the streamer is going to be more personally invested in a certain game franchise than another, but that doesn't mean that they're not enjoying playing it or that they don't want to play it for you all. And some people get upset when somebody's not as invested as they are in the game. It's well, that's not always the right ask because everybody is invested in things differentially than other people are. But I wanted to be very clear that I'm extremely invested in Subnautica. And I'm so glad that I was first introduced to the series by people asking me to play it. And now I'm extremely invested.
No, it's for me.
A big fanatic.
For me, this and backroom stuff are my newest, as an adult, I'm into so many, whether it's like Jurassic Park or Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or whatever, but it's like, it's cool to be like, oh, there's this new thing that feels just as rich as any of the lore and stories we learned and enjoyed growing up.
Yeah. So yes, I was like, I feel like when I said I was dismissing. It was not. I was saying yes. Anyway, that's the autism coming out. So this first Subnautica was an overwhelming experience in the beginning.
Sure.
Because I was like, oh God. And I was very, very used to story-driven games. So this was completely different. And a lot of people would be like, well, there is a story. I was like, I know, but it's not a story-driven game.
Yeah.
Like there is a story that you go on, but it's not one of those that like you're led to it. So I wasn't used to that and I had to get used to doing that. But the game did rope me in to the point that like, I've told my audience before that I know that I'm really excited about a game and invested when I'll be like, I can't wait to play this game when I'm done like doing whatever thing. Or like I'll go to bed being like, ooh, I could do this in the game tomorrow and I can do blah, blah, blah. And I get so excited about it. And like I would play off screen and like get all of my supplies and stuff. And I was just like itching to play Subnautica. I loved it so much. And I was having such a good time. And the story with that one is one that you do have to dig out.
Yeah.
And so I am a person that likes a little bit more story-driven than that, but respect when people like that there are story-driven games that you have to like, or not story-driven, sorry, games that you have to pull the story out. And I did get more and more invested as we went through. And I feel like if I played it now, obviously I would play a little bit different and I would probably be able to piece out more of that a little bit more quickly. But again, the part of it is the journey.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was really cool about the Sea Emperor and finding out that information and figuring out what happened with the Kara and the message of these people couldn't hear me. They weren't paying attention. They weren't coming with the specific mindset of being open to learning and open to the journey and open to another world. And that all she wanted to do was help her children. And she was genuinely wanted to help Riley Robinson.
Yeah.
And that was a really cool thing. And then when you're flying off and she gives you that one last message as you're leaving, like that was such a beautiful way to end that. Yeah. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And I have also been on record that I understand that this is a like minor opinion, that I loved Below Zero more than I did the first one for a couple of different reasons. I know. A lot of people are like, what? And it's for a couple of different reasons. Part of the driving factor is that the creatures and like their designs and the like world itself feel a little bit more like well thought out to me, with no offense again to the first one. And like they feel like they fit more. If that makes sense, like everything kind of fits into place a lot more, and it just felt a little bit more like natural. And I was like nerding out even more in Below Zero, I felt, than I was in the first one. And then I am a sucker for like human and alien interaction stories. So they got me there. They definitely, not that you're not doing that in the first one, but this is like more so not saying that Emperor is not intelligent, but you all know what I mean. With like the intelligent life interactions. And I love the interaction between Robin and Alan. And I was really excited about the fact that Robin, like it's kind of a throwaway line that I wish they had like let you know more of, that she has a doctorate degree.
Yeah.
In, I guess it's xenobiology. And so you have a Black woman with a doctorate degree is like one of the first people to interact with the architect race that people had been trying to interact with for so long and finding out information that like you don't even interact with in the first game. And that's the first person who's able to do that is really cool. And I would also like to just say that I appreciate that throughout these games, they do tend to have like Black and brown protagonist or options for that in a way that they often don't in many other games, or they have like women protagonists that I really like. But I loved the story in Subnautica Below Zero. I like, again, more story-driven games. Yeah. I just thought that was very rich text for me personally. I understand, and I like understand a lot of the problems. Like, I do agree that like the ice part with the dune worms, essentially, where that's so many references to it. And I was like, I know that y'all are dune nerds just like me. I can read it and see that it did feel a little bit out of place. And I looked into the old story that was before the new one that they came out with after early access. And some people like the old one. I prefer the new one, but that might also just be because I played that one first, you know. You know how that goes. But I feel like it's more of a warmer story, which I appreciated. I could wax poetic about Below Zero for a very long time, but I'm not going to because I want to get to Subnautica 2. I think Subnautica 2 thus far, you know, it's early access. We're doing what we can. I feel like they have bridged the gap between people like me that very much like more story driven and Below Zero, and the people that like you need to find the information out on your own, because it has a blend of both in a way that I think is done really well. You have to to get some of those details to really piece together the horrifying story of what is going on with this world, because there's multiple different stories that are intersecting and that are very cool and also very fricked up for some of them. And you have to go and find those pieces of information yourself. And then some of them are delivered to you, like you can't move on without getting those. So that's stuff that I like, where it's a lot more like of a heavier story of like, there's a lot more dialogue that's being given to you, or that you have to interact with. Like, I like that kind of stuff, but I feel like it also feeds the people that love like getting all the lore drops from finding all of these different PDAs and such. Yeah. So I really like that. It is early for me to say this, and like, you know, my mind might change, but I would say so far, I think that Subnautica 2 is the best out of all of the offerings, which again, I know it's early, but like from the PDAs and the design of the critters alone, it's better. Like, that was enough, but I'm also extremely invested in the story and very excited about the fact that we've got, on one hand, you have the issue where the cicada ship has crash landed on this planet. There's nobody else that you know of that's been printed. You're the only one. Something suspicious is going on with Noah.
Yeah. The robot, the AI helper.
Right. Who, as of note, was waxing poetic about the Shiver Leviathans, but that's neither here nor there. There's a weird PDA entry where it waxes poetic about Shiver Leviathans, and I'd argue got some of the information wrong, but whatever. But you have that plot line, but then there's like a subplot line of that there are different factions of people that have different ideologies about how to interact with this planet and interact with each other and interact with Altera and Noah that's going on. But then you also have the like, what the hell is going on with this giant tree situation and the Axum that we're here. And like the thing that I kept saying throughout the playthrough is, I want to see some aliens. Yeah. So like the Axum, I guess, are there sleeping in the deeper portions that we're going to go wake them up, I guess. We're going to find out in the next part of the chapter. We said there were spoilers. But there's something going on with that their system is dying. And they're like, we need help from the architects, who I don't know. I watched some lore videos and such. I think they never came, and they just knew about the architects. And so they put up that Rosetta Stone to try and track them and translate. But I don't think the architects ever came.
No. Yeah. I feel like it would transform, because the way that it transformed the world once, you know, after Below Zero, once Altera got a hold of architect technology, it completely transformed, you know, the human world as far as being able to in this world, in Subnautica 2, your mind is separate from your body, and you can get a new body.
And there's a whole lot of ethical, philosophical things to talk about with that.
Yeah. Well, and I will say, as far as story-driven things, I genuinely think, and I won't spoil this, but to me, Subnautica 2 is a ghost story. And there's an element of that where you get to interact with something in a way where, like, again, because most of this game, you are just either hearing voice entries or you're reading bits, but this is where you're kind of talking to something trapped inside somebody. And I genuinely think that is some of the best poetry in a video game, like one of the most haunting experiences. Because it's so out of nowhere too. And you're just like, oh, I didn't know this game was going that. It didn't need to go that hard, basically, and it did.
And that was in the same episode that I filmed my interaction with the Collector Leviathan. So needless to say, there was a lot going on, and I was like, what is happening?
Yeah. No, it just, that
crazy.
That was just a moment where I was like, wow, we're in for a treat. If this is early access.
Yeah.
And they've said as much that like, and that's one of the reasons why I bought an Xbox. I literally texted somebody. I was like, I never thought I would own an Xbox, but I just really wanted to play this game so bad. And the Steam Deck was just like unavailable. And I was like, fine, I'll get an ROG Xbox Ally because I want to play this game so dang bad. And yeah, the developers have said that it's like, it's Unknown Worlds. It's like, it's probably going to be like 2 years before the final release.
Yeah, 2 or 3. Yeah.
So
and the story could change, but like the story is so good that they have right now that I would kind of honestly be shocked if they changed it tremendously.
Yeah, just like add
what happened
more
with
to
Below
it.
Zero.
Yeah. No, I don't. I think the reason why Below Zero changed is because writing staff members and things changed.
That makes more sense.
This is like the all hands on deck for this. But it just feels like, this it's just another, it's just the juicy sci-fi that I feel like speaks to like the times we live in right now too, to some extent.
Yeah. And I think it's exciting too, because this is going to be a massive game in terms of how much story and world we have to explore. Because I felt like we had a lot, like I've already filmed or like have posted now, what was it, like 18 parts?
Yeah.
My first Subnautica was 24. Now, to be fair, many of those episodes in the first one, like I had some that were as long as 4 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Filming for 4 hours is a lot.
Oh my gosh.
So I haven't really done that with anything besides the first session. But there's a couple that are 3 hours for Subnautica too. But like I've done all of that. And we've only gotten through like the first couple of chapters, quote unquote, that they have available. And there's going to be more story and more worlds and places. And they've said that the next place is going to be even scarier. And I was like, what do you mean?
What do you mean? It's Jennifer Lawrence. What do you mean? What do you mean?
What do you mean? Like with the same amount of intensity and fear.
Yeah. Brooke, this has been so wonderful. I feel like we could keep going forever. And I definitely want to have you back on to talk about your work as well. But a couple of quick questions. First thing you're eating in Subnautica. What thing would you actually eat as far as like what you could eat in Subnautica? Whether it's creatures, plants, maybe it's a nutrient block. What are you trying first?
It's not the water slug. I can't do it. I want to try the pavlova.
Ooh, yes.
The one with the deep wing brooder, because it gives you so much health and water. And like, I just want to know. I want to know what it tastes like. I also think it's a little bit wild that you make sugar from lead.
Yes. I honestly, that was going to be my answer, that in this world with the chemical compositions, you take salt and lead and it makes sugar of Saturn or something.
Yes.
Sugar Saturn or something like that.
Sugar of Saturn. Yeah.
Also, I just feel like that bottle of water would be so refreshing. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I need to, like, somebody must have, I actually have a 3D printed knife from the first game.
I love that.
But I feel like I need to like get, like, I feel like any bottle of water in that Altera water bottle would be refreshing as hell.
Oh God, yes. Especially after all of the hard work that you're doing.
Yes, exactly. What is your favorite biome in any of the games? Or one that you're like, return back to, you liked building a base in?
In the first game, I like the mushroom forest biome.
Oh, yeah.
That one's really cool. In the second one, I really love the meadow area. That place is so cool to me.
Wait, and
where it like has looks like grass that you're swimming in, and it has like the whales and things. That's really cool to me.
Yeah.
And I like the like twisty bridges area is really cool. And then in this one, there's a really like right next door to where I put my base, there is kind of a platform right before you get to scary Collector Leviathan's realm, where it just has a lot of weird looking critters. It's like right in front of the door of the observatory. And then it has like these, like, I don't know what they are, but there's like sand formations in the ground. When I first got there, I lost my mind because there were so many weird critters. And the shallows, honestly, is a pretty nice area in this Subnautica too. Not that it's not in the other ones, but I really like this one.
No, I like this one a lot, especially with the crab shells, and you can get all the quartz there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I also we haven't mentioned the hyacinths.
Yes,
Hyacinth?
hyacinth. I have no idea how to pronounce it.
But it's just like it's a
They're
blimp,
really cool.
but their chemical reaction creates like hydrogen, so that they're basically like space balloons.
Yeah, and it's really cool. This is like another like prop to the devs, and to go back to your point, talking about how things are more well thought out, and there's like a lot more behavior to them. That you'll sometimes see them go into the water and rest, and they'll just like chill out in one spot, and then they'll go back up, and then they'll just be kind of like swimming around with like the trailing tentacles. It's really cool.
Yeah. If we haven't made that clear, everyone, if you haven't played these games, you'll lose your mind. Favorite tool to use in the game?
The scanner.
Yeah.
Although the multi-tool is useful for a variety of things. There's a reason it's called a multi-tool. You can use it to harvest fibrous pulp, or you can use it to smack a marrow breach.
You go away, leave me alone. Like, I tried using the sonic resonator because that's the only.
Sometimes it does work.
Yeah, and it's just like, ugh, like you're like, yeah. If you get a big blast of air in the face, I'd also turn around.
Yeah.
I do like the. Oh my gosh, it's not. I do like the sound of the repair tool. It's just very satisfying.
Yeah. And also, it's a need, not a want.
Yes.
That thing, oh God, it was much harder to find it in Subnautica 2.
Yeah.
I was struggling, and my tadpole was not in good shape. But a lot of people have had a similar experience.
Yeah, no, it'll be curious because, yeah, as of this recording, supposedly between when we've recorded this and when it comes out, there might be another update happening.
But this is like the small 1.1 update.
Yeah.
So it'll be like more like quality of life kind of stuff, not
Yeah.
necessarily anything story wise.
Yes, yeah. So, yeah, I'm like, again, I feel like since I've beaten it, I've mostly just been like trying to just see if there's anything I missed, the first time around. So, and then as far as, I guess, because if they bring back the time capsule thing in Subnautica 2, what are you putting in there for somebody?
I would hope that we're going to be able to, at some point in the game, take pictures. Because I liked that aspect that you could add a picture of anything. I think it would be funny to put a water slug in there. And then I like to put things in there that are hard to obtain.
Yeah.
That might be something that like is later in the game. I need to still unlock like some of the like advanced batteries and things. So like I would put something like that in there, or I might put something like a trollite.
Axon bacteria.
No, that's mine. But something that's hard to obtain and just kind of give it to them earlier on. Deepling brooder egg.
Oh, that would be so nice.
Yeah.
Brooke, thank you so much. This has been so great.
Thank you.
Where can people follow you, find you, check out your work, support you, all the good stuff?
I am Ocean Philly in all of the places. So you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, still on Twitter, just not as often, and Blue Sky.
Amazing. You can find me at Stephen Ray Morse on all the things, patreon.com/SeeJurassicRight. I've been thinking about streaming some Subnautica 2. We'll see if I get my shit together. But, just watch out for the void, and just if a creature's shaking at you, maybe don't eat it. All right. Bye, everybody.
How would I do like?
Yeah, there we go. All right.